TVOT.
Today, and I'm moderating it, and I'm very excited about this topic, which is why I took it on. I'm excited about all the topics of this event, but one thing I mentioned earlier on today was that as an organization, as Interactive TV Today and TV of Tomorrow Show, we are going to start really looking at content more and more at these events. And so the first type of content that I wanted to look at and present to you was the music video. It seems perhaps like an obvious to you, but there's a lot of work I think many people don't know is going on. Can you hear me? I've lost my voice today, so anyway, I have 4 really interesting and smart gentlemen on my panel, and who've done some very exciting work. So what we're going to do is I will very quickly introduce them. They'll expand on that. Then they're each going to show you what they're about, and then we're going to go into the deeper dive about why this is significant and what's going to happen with this stuff. So I think we will, let me introduce just to my left first. We'll go down the line. This is David Beccaro, who's the president and CEO of Music Choice, which is the competitor to MTV. David, do you want to tell us shortly about your background?
Okay, well, I started in interactive TV in the mid-'80s at General Instrument, which is now part of Motorola. And we formed Music Choice back in 1991. And we've been working in various forms of interactive television, but there's been a lot of trouble with adoption of different interactive television technologies. So I think what you'll see once the demo goes, how we in essence, avoided that trap and were able to introduce interactivity to a broadcast TV network.
And also I want to point out that you started a separate, completely interactive network, Swerve.
Yes, that's
which is really a music network which is completely interactive.
right. That's the network I'm speaking of that will do the demo. Thank
Okay.
you.
To your left is Matt Apfel, who's the Vice President of Content for Coincident.tv, located here in San Francisco and New York.
Hi, I'm Matt. What do we do at Coincident? We kind of sit between the content distributors and the content creators. And this wasn't intentional, it just worked out that way. But we're a platform. We're a platform that enables anybody to create really interesting, engaging, and lucrative interactive video experiences. We launched about a year ago. Our first product, or our first experience launched a year ago. And what's been really interesting is that it's very broad. We can do things like full episodes for big networks. We can do shoppable applications for brands and corporate sites. But one of the best expressions of what we've done so far, I'm going to show you all, was an interactive music video. We think short form is a great palette for us. And we're just really excited about what we can do and what we can build upon with what we learned from our experience with MTV. Hopefully we'll be doing it with Music Choice in the near future. But I think I'll save more details and more of the stuff about how the system works and what kind of interactivity we can do while we demonstrate the product.
And one of the first complex in-browser navigable environments, translating recently to Facebook, which is pretty exciting. Okay, Myles McGovern, you are the president and CEO of Immersive Media, and you've done some really interesting work with 360 videos, and he also works with various celebrities.
Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, Immersive Media has been around since the mid-'90s.
Hold it close to your mouth, please. Okay.
Sorry?
You have to hold it closer.
Okay.
Thanks.
Immersive Media has been around since the mid-'90s and really focused on 360 video. I really got engaged in the early 2000s, and it was a lot of military applications, grew into becoming Google Street View, behind that. But it was really, from there, the goal was to move to the commercial media space and interactive entertainment. And I think we're really on just the bubble of that, not only in providing the technology, but also then in stimulating the creation of some very interactive content. So we hope to show you a bit of both of that today.
And you jumped out to Haiti when they had their big earthquake, which was really impressive, and you really were one of the first, or you're the only 360 sort of immersive experience showing people the devastation in Haiti. So you do journalism to some extent too.
We've kind of touched on all aspects, from sports and entertainment. So we're now streaming, every one of the the different groups that have been talking today. We've been, I could have jumped into that second screen discussion. We've been streaming live 360, which is a great second screen experience to tie to a lot of the broadcasts, and looking at a number of different things that we've done with will.i.am and the Black Eyed Peas recently with the BEP 360 video in their app.
Okay, and to your left is Jason Trucco, and he actually called me originally, and we discussed this panel. So again, thank you, Jason. And Jason is behind the recently released What We Do interactive 360 video from Devo, and he's a director.
Yes, thanks. Pleasure to be here, but Tracy, by the way. Tracy gives us a lexicon to talk about these things when we don't exactly have one. So it's really great to have you moderate our panel. I recently directed with some great collaborators a video for Devo called What We Do. My collaborators were Kai Ahrens and Devo's chief strategist, Gerald Cassell. And we decided with this project to show a lot of what interactive entertainment can be about, and also to embrace some of the conventions that advertisers and Hollywood has encouraged for many years. For instance, directing by committee and choosing the content by focus group. And so in sort of an ironic way, we put that in our music video.
Okay, so thanks so much, gentlemen. So what we want to quickly do is show you what they do in context, and then we'll do the deeper dive. So Myles?
Great.
Can we bring down the lights a little bit, please? Okay.
Immersive media, we often refer to interactive media as a disruptive and addictive technology. And people talked about different demographics and so forth. I have 5 children, and I watch them. They always watch TV, and they have either an iPhone, tablet, or some computer or something on their lap as they're doing it, and are interacting and multitasking. And our objective from a technology perspective is really to enable that creativity and interactivity from a IP perspective. And the way we do that is by providing not only the technology that does the capture of it, but we actually map every pixel from the minute it's captured. We encode that and transmit that out effectively immediately. So there's about a 2-second latency to be able to do this. So a number of events that you can have literally 1 million people logged in simultaneously, moving and panning around the camera and having their own point of view. Earlier it was mentioned how ABC had done a great job with the Oscars recently in providing that interactive component. That was our 360 technology behind that. But our vision over the long term is, I don't know whether it's a 1 screen, 2 screen, 3 screen, but it really doesn't matter, because I don't see a big difference between a computer and a mouse and a screen versus a remote control, a set-top box, and a TV. My kids walk in with their iPhone, and basically it can start to control the different devices around. There's no reason why they wouldn't be streaming Netflix right up to a larger screen and enjoying it depending on where they are and how they want to interact with that. But part of what we're trying to do is not only enable some technology, but enable the user to really interact in a different perspective and start to get their own point of view. So when you're watching something, not just to have the director's view of saying, oh, this is what you must watch, but to be able to watch that and, the whole idea of spherical storytelling, where there's things going on all around you. And so it's really, truly immersing you into an environment. And whether that's something as simple as, it's going to be a little more difficult here, but where I'm in control here and I'm moving my mouse around and can look at anything I want to on the screen. So I literally would have 1 million people logged in simultaneously, and anybody can be looking where they want on that screen. So, and what we have done here was, this was with CBC Hockey Night in Canada, and they run a simulcast, and then they'll run an interactive chat beside that. So people will be on chatting and saying, oh, check out this, and you can actually move around and look wherever you want. Our objective was to take that content then and move it into the music industry. And one of the key things that we found is, really what with the music is going into the mobile devices. The PCs and so forth are a critical component of that. And so we partnered up with will.i.am and will.i apps and the Black Eyed Peas to bring and integrate this onto a tablet or iPhone. And so this is an example. I couldn't project this, unfortunately.
It's iPad 1. You can't project
Yeah.
iPad 1.
But I have the full interactivity to be able to look around in 360, or utilizing the accelerometer where I can move up and down and change my whole perspective as I'm looking around. So as you can see, and at any point in time, the critical piece of this is that the user doesn't end up just watching this video once. They'll end up watching it over and over because every time it's a new experience. So those are a number of the things that we're building into this and to try and drive interactivity going forward.
Okay, great. We definitely are running short on time, so I want to go quickly to Matt.
Hi,
Thank
no
you.
problem. So it's interesting. We hear from a lot of different networks and content creators what they want. And with MTV, it was a similar challenge, which was how do we take these videos, music videos that people have seen 1 million times, and make the 1,000,001th or the 1,000,001 time exciting, new, and interactive. I'm not seeing any signal yet.
Excuse
Should
me?
I re-plug in?
Oh, is it not on? It's not on the screen. Is
No,
Matt's screen?
that's not our video. I hope not. Isn't
That's
it great?
not your video.
So when you watch the pixels, they change every time. No,
Okay.
there we go.
Okay.
So,
You can bring the lights up a little bit.
so last summer, MTV wanted to do the 2010 VMAs, and so this carousel here on the right are all the nominees for the year. And so this was a scalable application. We just trained MTV for a day, and they actually built this themselves. So no engineers, no editors, no tapes, no encoding. These are all URL destinations that you pull together inside of our template-driven editor. So this is the will.i.am, I'm sorry, this is the Usher video, and we're now, I wish it was will.i.am. So the first thing you'll notice is that there's 2 modes. Yahoo was a big sponsor for this, and their #1 goal was to figure out a way to make Yahoo look cool without making it look like they were serving a lot of ads. So at various times in this video, you'll see these pop-ups. These pop-ups can be authored dynamically. They can be authored, curated, if you will, hand-curated at any cue point inside the video. But what they do is they take you to new things. So I'm going to click pause here, and this one happens to be a video annotation. So you click it on. You might have a little bit of a lag here because of the Wi-Fi being slow because everybody's blogging. But what it should do, and there it goes, is load a related piece of video. So the idea that we're trying to capture here is that everything around this video, backstories, related content, social grid, the entire experience is brought inside. It's like an inside-out web page. So you've been watching this video and you wanted to see, well, how they made those lasers. You've been automatically directed to a nice interview with the director. And let's say you're bored, you don't really like that. You real quickly click, and it takes you frame accurate back to where you are in the video, because what we do is digital breadcrumbs. Every single cue point inside that video is marked, it's tagged with metadata, and you can instantly find your way back. And so why the networks love it is because it keeps people engaged, it keeps them watching for multiple times. A couple other really cool things to show. There's 2 modes to this piece, and piece #1 is sort of, this is the way that we call the teenage viewing mode. And then there's another mode, which is the sort of nonlinear mode. So if you click this on right now, instantly it brings up all those little pop-ups, all those little annotations that you were seeing fed into the screen. You now see them in a map, a geo map. And so you can real quickly just watch anything, any piece of content you want in a different kind of mode. And what we learned from the data was really interesting. We learned that almost every single person that accessed a video in this mode watched every one of these little annotations here because they were extremely engaged. They were the hyper fans, the people that MTV really wanted to reach. And then, of course, if you want to go back to the video, you click it, and you're frame accurate back in the content of what the experience was. So this is the final thing I wanted to show you guys, which is what we did with search. So remember, Yahoo was the partner. I can tell you that nobody clicked on this Yahoo banner right here. Nobody cared. But when Yahoo did these integrated search units, and they did them dynamically, what you would get is it would feed a fully rendered Yahoo search page. So from an advertising perspective, it was really interesting. They were getting incredible click-through rates because it was basically a banner for paid search, right? but it wasn't looking, feeling, or acting like a banner, and that's what Coincident can do for people. It takes a video experience and keeps you engaged and linked to that experience, but it also gives you new ways to access that information and to kind of serve it up the way that you want to serve it up. So it's a scalable platform that's easy for people to author, but what we're excited about are opportunities like this that let people do fully rendered web pages, that let people do more and serve more content very easily and very quickly inside the video. So that's kind of a quick walkthrough of what we did. I'm happy to take questions afterwards and follow up.
Okay. David, can you play David Del Barcaro's video, please, Ernie? Ernie? Okay.
My
Oh,
name's
there's
Jeff.
This is Swerve.
Experience Swerve, the first 24/7 music video network that you control.
Volume?
Upload your video to swerve.tv and be seen and heard by all your friends. It's your chance to be a star. Plus, your text or online vote controls what video plays next. So take control. Swerve, don't just watch.
Okay, the idea behind Swerve is kind of the opposite of where a lot of other people are headed in interactivity. It's not a concept where
Turn off the video,
you
please.
participate in a more in-depth manner by yourself. It's a broadcast network where you interact with the network offline because TV technology isn't such that you can interact live with a national broadcast. So you interact with it through your laptop, your tablet, your phone, and it affects the programming content for the entire national audience live. You send in video content of yourself, and it appears on television on the live national network, so it's a shared experience. Our concept is that people have different levels of engagement that they want to have, even the same person at different times. So sometimes the same 15-year-old, the same 20-year-old wants to just watch others do TV or watch TV. Sometimes they want to interact on a relatively simple basis, like, for example, just vote on what is coming next or register their opinion. And sometimes they want to be much more actively involved. So, for example, in Swerve, you could take over the network for 15 minutes, pick the videos that are going to play, introduce them, and again, it's on national TV. So that's the first phase of what we really are trying to accomplish with Swerve, is to create a more national shared experience. And again, in a way, it's very TV-centric, even though all the interactivity is over the web. And we think that's important. In fact, just to give you some perspective on this, and to show you how much, even for the demos we're looking at, which is basically 12 to 24 is our key target demo. In the United States, everybody knows that YouTube and Devo are the biggest provider of music videos in the country, and they're in virtually every home in the United States. Digital cable is only in about 50 million homes, to put it in perspective, so half as many. Digital cable has between 400 and 500 music videos, which is roughly 1/20th the amount that is on YouTube right now. And yet, digital cable shows has 80% of the views of YouTube and Devo combined, okay? So half the homes, 1/20th the content, and 80% of the plays. And what it shows you is that kids watch a lot of television, and even though it's short form content, they want to watch it on the big screen. They want to interact with it on the big screen. And so what we're moving towards is developing services that allow them to participate, and also participate in a very social manner. So the next phase of what we're doing with Swerve and Music Choice, you'll see this with our audio networks, is the ability for people to, in their own closed circle of friends, whether that's 10 or 20 or 50, actually create and affect shows just for their own private viewing. That'll be served up, again, over the internet, but ultimately, once certain television technology gets spread out, you'll actually be able to display it on your TV. So.
Okay, thanks so much. All right, Jason, can we show the interactive version of the Devo video? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Ernie?
Well, this here is the broadcast
Oh,
version.
this is the
but
broadcast?
It'll give
Okay.
you a similar idea.
You have volume, please? Okay. So this is is a big 360 video. You can move it around with your mouse. You want to explain it? Okay.
Yes, this is a 360-degree video, very similar to the type of work that Myles does. And you'll notice that this is all one take. This is one take that was shot in the round, 11 worlds with 11 different colors. And the video is for a song called What We Do, so we have people doing various things. What you're looking at now is as if someone themselves was navigating around, but when it's released online, people have the chance to do so themselves. Also, you'll notice that that girl, let's say if you wanted to buy that energy dome, which is the name of Devo's patented shape, you'd be able to mouse over it and then click and then buy one immediately. So I think it also provides a very real need in the market for selling energy domes.
So who came up with the idea? Let me ask some questions. Who came up with the idea to make this an interactive video in Devo?
Well, Devo is a band that's been known for innovation, both in incorporating new technologies into their music and into their videos. They were one of the pioneers of the video in the MTV era because they took matters into their own hands and made Whip It and other videos like that. And they've always been trying new things with technology anytime they've come out with anything. The first 3D DVD, the first laser discs. So for Devo to come out now with a new album, they wanted to try something new and show that they could continue to innovate, and doing something that was interactive and 360 made sense to them as something that we think is going to lead the trend.
Now, all of you are working with different artists. To what extent, are the artists involved in the creation of these videos and these projects? Is it important to them, or are they really just looking for ancillary revenue? Is this a creative opportunity for them first or last?
Well, I can speak to that in saying that they're integral to the process. For me, I mean, one of them was my fellow director and also a great pioneer of music video himself. And in general, I think it's very important because people now have a million choices in front of them. And integrity is really something that music audiences search for. Sorry, we have two Canadians on this side of the panel. Integrity is something that has a big value online. And I think that not working with the bands and not being able to take out the vision of what really the song is about and just add pictures to it doesn't do anybody a service.
I know, Myles, you and I have talked at length about the fact that there is a huge business opportunity making videos interactive in a live environment, in a live performance environment. Can you expand on that, please?
Sure. The music industry in general is going through some challenges, and I think we're very fortunate to work with somebody like will.i.am, who's very innovative, not only in the music and the content side, but also he is the director of creative innovation at Intel. And the reason being is that he is exposed to some interesting technologies and looking at how these can be used and how they'll be, the impact they'll have down the road. But with the music industry in particular, the way they make money is, if you look at the top artists and so forth, they're not making money in the old way of selling albums. It's all about putting bums in seats. And those guys who tour are the ones who are making the money. That's why you have the Live Nations and places like that who are doing extremely well. And so part of our intent is to look at how we can expand and how we can work with them in terms of looking at that live experience and extending that, and whether that's providing interactivity to customers who are sitting in the seats and or expanding their audience beyond that, and then at the same time recording that into an on-demand product to build upon that for additional revenue sources.
I know, Matt, and I've spoken to Myles about this as well, not so much for you, David, but holding an iPad in the middle of a live event, navigating a coincident project, or maybe a TV Everywhere version of Swerve, perhaps, while they're in a live event. Is this a possibility where the audience could sit there in a live event but still interact with your content, and there could be a creative experience that the artist could communicate, but also a business opportunity for the artist and the people involved with producing that music? What's the future of that?
Yes. I mean, I don't want to be flip. It's interesting. We don't work as closely with artists as, say, our gentleman here, but we work with the network. And I'll tell you that their number one driver was to serve more Yahoo content or Yahoo banners, but they wanted to position themselves strategically to be cooler and hipper than their main competitor, which is Vivo, or which they view as Vivo. So I'll tell you that, those discussions are happening, that the idea of video being shown on a channel with the companion app and all the interactivity being served into an iPad, I mean, yes, it's a big initiative. What we spent a lot of time doing since this particular application launched was building out on the engineering side so that it was scalable, so that we could do this for a library of thousands and dynamically build them, as opposed to having to kind of hand curate them and hand pick, make the Ferraris by hand as opposed to the assembly line. So we're moving in that direction. And I'll tell you that everything I hear both from MTV and our friends at Vivo is the same thing, that the one-screen experience is probably, I don't want to say it's seen its last day, but people are asking more and more about how their phone and how their iPad can feed this stuff into a channel.
So David, I know you're going to disagree with that. Your whole goal is to keep people on the network, on that channel.
Well, yes, but it is a multi-screen experience. And in fact, our network for all our cable affiliates is broadcast live on the internet and on phones. So, will be on tablets as the apps are developed. So it's not that it's limited to television by any stretch. I was simply trying to point out that television is still, even for the youngest generation, the medium of choice. To your question, we're not focused on enhancing the live experience, mostly, frankly, because that's not where the volume and the numbers and the dollars are. There's something very valuable from an artistic level and from a fan experience level, but that doesn't happen to be the business we're in. We're trying bluntly to make television more appealing to a demographic that is used to living their content and socializing it as they're using it. We're not trying to enhance a music experience at a concert, as an example.
Well, to what extent, not even to an extent, are these kids that you are, watching, the kids who are watching your channel and the people that you are trying to reach, are they demanding this form of interactivity? Are they expecting it? Is this becoming, normal for them?
Well, I would say this is the way they're growing up. They are interacting whenever they do anything. I mean, you can't sit down with a 15-year-old and have dinner without them interacting with something. And so...
How about almost 4-year-old?
Yeah, well, I don't have one of those, so I can't
I
speak
do.
to that. But, so these kids are growing up not only interacting, but actually socializing, especially with their friends, every aspect of their life. And so what we're trying to do is enable them to do that with a television broadcast mechanism or other music products that might not be broadcast nationwide, but again, broadcast to their friends. So I think what we're doing is trying to create television that makes sense to this generation as opposed to, in essence, bring interactivity to this generation. This generation is interactive.
Jason?
I was thinking from a content creator's point of view, J.J. Abrams has something that he says. J.J. Abrams, the creator of Lost, he said, imagine that you're a guy who does a soft shoe routine with another guy, and you pay your 5 cents and go into a theater and see Harold Lloyd hanging off a clock 60 feet tall. He says that's sort of where we're at. That's where we're at right now, is that we're looking at capabilities that really change everything about the music industry. 100 years ago, the music industry was sheet music, and that was the commodity that we had. The change of recording not only transformed the business, but also transformed the art. So now people could croon.
To what extent who's driving the investment in interactivity? Is it the artist, or is it the label, or is it the distributor?
Well, you guys can answer it from your point of view. I think that the artist is carrying a heavier load maybe than they have in the past.
Closer.
The artist is carrying a heavier load, I think, than they have in the past, largely now in partnership with the label, because a 360-degree, not referring to what we do, but referring to the business kind of deal is more common. And the fans are demanding that things be immediate for them. And that means that it should be something that they can experience and interact with as part of a dialogue rather than a monologue to them.
I'm going to mention some other ones that we've seen this year that have really stood out. I think Wilderness Down, of course, I think has been up for awards. That was the Arcade Fire Chris Milk project, right? And the Andy Grammer, which was an S-curve, Steve Greenberg project, where they basically launched his whole song as an interactive video.
Right.
And we played that earlier today. And of course, Dustin Califf, who was here earlier, did a project with the Cold War kids where you could change the instruments or change who played, which instrument, which band member played in which way. And so there is so many interesting new videos popping up and innovative work. So I'm trying to figure out who's driving that investment.
Well, I think for a large part is that the investment is less than it used to have to be, so that you can do more creative things with the smaller budget. And you know, last week the Wall Street Journal was kind enough to say that there's a new golden age in music video, having seen it go to, you know, from its infancy to a huge rise to sort of a doldrums over the last number of years, where it's been putting people in front of big yachts and shiny things.
I
And
was
having
preparing this panel, and Jason said, "Did you see the article?" And there's this huge article in the Wall Street Journal. Was it last week or the week before? Basically covering the same topic. So we're all in sync. But
I think it's the
yeah.
distributors more than anybody
Distributors?
else. I think the labels are the labels. I think the artists will always be artists, and they're going to want to push the envelope, right? You always get, if you have an engaged artist who's really, you know, going to take off his or her shoe and pound it like Khrushchev, they'll get something. But I think ultimately, when we hear it day in, day out, we know that we want to do this for, we know we have to do the types of things that we're
They feel
talking
they
about on
have
this
to do
panel.
it?
They know they have to do it, but they need to find a sponsor to pay for some of it. And that'll make the labels happy. What's interesting to us is that we see a lot of tension between the labels and the distributors. I mean, MTV is notoriously, I mean, this was one project we did, but they're notoriously kind of butting heads with the labels, but they're all just competing to be cool. And they know that you have to speak to them in their language, and it's the type of stuff that, you know, these creative people have shown, and that we can kind of add a layer to on the playback and make it, again, efficient and a little bit more lucrative. I'm seeing it more from the distributors more than anything else, because ultimately they're the people, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Music Choice, or whether it's MTV or Evo, they're the people that ultimately have the eyeballs and can drive money through that, as opposed to the labels. They don't have
David
it.
wanted- okay.
I agree with that. Now, look, I come at this from a very different place. Here, we're talking about people that are dealing with the creative end of the music video, and bluntly, we're not in the music video business. We're in the television business, and we're talking about creating television experiences, not music video experiences. They involve music videos because that's a very popular content for 12 to 24, but we're creating interactive and social television experiences that involve videos. The experiences that we're talking about here are, one, largely artistic, and two, they're individual experiences. And so from a television perspective, I don't know how interesting that is for the television business, whether it's on one screen or three, or whether it's on the big screen or the little screen. We're not looking for tens of thousands of interplays with consumers. We're looking for millions of interplays with consumers, and so we're coming at this very differently. The labels have nothing to do with this. They're having their issues with their own business, let alone figuring out things like this. And again, because it's television, it's not artistically driven because it's not a reflection of their music. But artists' involvement in networks like ours, I believe, will be very significant for the same reason that in the 80s they were highly involved with MTV, and that is to promote their brand. As our service and services are more widespread and people see the response to them that we've seen so far in the markets we're in, I think our artists are going to be a lot more involved.
Myles, I know that will.i.am, I know you wanted to say something specific, but will.i.am is very, very willing to take chances, and he's doing all kinds of exciting work. He's pretty dedicated to moving in this direction.
Well, I think the world of just a passive artist has changed. They're a brand, and let's face it, that's what drives television. Period. Is people are it's advertising, and that's what it's all about. I mean, the Black Eyed Peas and will.i.am is a brand, and what he's trying to create is an experiential marketing, something that gets people to go, wow, this is cool. And it sells him to not only his fans, but also his ability to market himself and promote himself in other areas. And that starts to, have a significant trickle effect across other markets. And I think, part of our view has been that it's that interactivity and that brand. Ultimately, people want to be associated with something different and something highly interactive and engaging. So I think that's, when we look at it, it's not just the piece of, well, it's cool creative content. It's about positioning themselves and their own brand.
Okay, Jason, you've got the last word, and then we have to go to the big party.
Okay, great.
What's the response to your video? Give us I'm sure you'll tell us good things, but Devo, they have been kind of quiet for a long time.
I think the response is rocking. They're going to be playing a lot of shows this summer, including in my hometown of Toronto, which is great. And the experience of releasing online also gives you a new sound of applause, which is the thousands of Twitterers that write and the Facebookers that write something about it. So nowadays you can actually hear and see your audience tell you what they think of your video and whom they share it with. So I think that it's an exciting place where short form goes and where music goes, so the industry tends to follow.
Well, obviously the medium is changing. Hopefully the artists will use these technologies to express themselves more. There'll be more markets to explore and more new viewers to bring to the platform and to experience music in a social way, which is clearly the direction for all of these gentlemen. So I want to give them a round of applause and we can go to the big party. We're running late. Does anybody have with a quick question? Yes, sir.
Two really quick ones. One is from a musician's perspective.
Yes.
I just released my first album, so I'm really trying to suck this all in. And one thing was, I would be totally bummed if somebody browsed away from my music as it's playing to go buy something, even if they're buying my thing. So I think even if you could have the music playing while you're browsing away, that would be good. But if you just browsed away, that would be really bad, right? So second thing was.
Let me just repeat that. So he said, as a musician, he didn't like the idea of browsing away to buy something during his piece.
Yeah, because the whole point is
Right.
to express something, and if you break the flow, then it kind of sort of blows the whole song. Even if they're buying my piece, I wouldn't want them to. I want the music to still play. That's just a really simple fix, right? The second thing was that I think one big, giant, huge opening market here really is, and I think you talked a little bit about that, is that if you look at YouTube, I mean, these big, giant, quote artists that are really branded individuals, right? If you wonder, maybe that's why the music industry is doing so poorly. And if you look at the amount of
Thank you.
talent that our independents have on YouTube, it's amazing. And so the question is, how would you create tools for people like me that are interested in building interactive videos?
We did. I mean, that's exactly what we do. I mean, the name coincident means two things happening at the same time, or more. And so the whole idea about your question with, you don't want people to, exit the video or leave the experience. That's the whole point. You can do all of this stuff
While it's playing.
While it's still playing. The video can pause when you click something on. The video can keep running. It can be a split screen. It can be a iframe. It can be anything you want. And it's ironic, though, because your problems from the ground up are the exact same problems that the distributors, the record labels, and even the broadcast networks have. They don't want to be penalized by their success. They don't want a banner or a game or a Facebook share or any kind of interactive click to take away from the experience and drive people away. It's almost like counterintuitive. Why bother to do it? And so the whole idea behind what we can do, or what we're trying to do as a company, is enable everybody, whether you're, Fox, MTV, or a budding musician, to build that level of interactivity, make a better experience, but not cannibalize yourself whenever it
It
happens.
seems like the labels are becoming less valuable, where especially if you look at the YouTube, there's actually, ad-generated revenue for artists, or not, for whoever that's creating interesting content.
Okay, that's great. He agrees. Unfortunately, we didn't have a lot of time. We're going to need to stop here and go to the party, and I want to thank all of the gentlemen again. I hope we got a little bit of the message out, what's going on. Thanks, David Del Beccaro from Music Choice, Swerve, Matt Apfel, Coincident, Myles McGovern from Immersive Media, and Jason Trucco, the director. Thank you so much, everybody. And now we have the canoe party in the other room. Thank you. Thank you. All right, sorry I had to